Producers, how are you guys doing on this fine evening, fine morning, whatever time it is for you? How you guys doing today? In this video, I'll be making or attempting to make a beat in the style of ICYTWAT. I think that's how you say it. But anyways, let's just go ahead and get started. ICYTWAT has like a type of style that's almost, it's like house chords, and it's like, it has a soulful chord progression to like most of his songs. So what I'm gonna do is get Lounge Lizard, as you can tell, and we want to build large chords. Let me go ahead and usually I'll just be playing stuff on my MIDI keyboard, so let me pop up a piano roll so you guys can at least see the type of chords that I'm playing. We want to go for some very large sounding chords, so like ninth chords. But what we want to go ahead and do is invert some of the notes. So if I go ahead and draw this out, the cool thing about this style is that we can draw the notes and then there's no need to actually play the chords. So as you can tell, we have this minor 9 chord, C minor 9. I don't really think in terms of music theory, to be honest, but something basic like this, I know what it is. If I drop that top one down, we start to get a more dense sounding chord, and that's exactly what we want to do. We want to drop everything so it's as close together as possible. Even that could work, like something like that. Keep in mind, this is still a ninth chord, it's just very dense. Let me turn up the velocity instead of turning up my speaker volume. Let's go ahead and find a nice tempo. So I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4. So about what we were at. And right here, let's do something like that. And then we can take it up 1. So this is why it's kind of like house chords. Like there's no real, it's like you're transposing the whole chord. Can do something like that. Let's copy this chord and put it right here. Just loop that. Now you guys kind of understand how I'm trying to like build my chords in this song. But let's go ahead and try different like combinations. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's interesting. It kind of changes the whole vibe. So I'm just messing around right now, trying out different things. Let's go ahead and select both of these clips right here, and let's hit Command J or Control J to consolidate it. And since this track is gray, the notes are gonna be kind of hard to see. Let's change this track to a nice like bluish purple, I guess, and assign the color to the clips so that we can see this better. I like that second part. What we can do is transition. Okay, let's hit Command E to split the clip up here. You can drag this and put this right here, and let's just loop this 2 times and loop that 2 times. Let's see, how can we change this chord? That's better. Alright, cool. So at this point we have this decent little progression. Let's go ahead and change the sound a little bit of this Lounge Lizard plugin. Now next, I wanted to try the chorus. Alright, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. Let's get rid of that reverb actually, for the most part. Let's freeze this track. And what I'm gonna basically do is turn it into audio. But let's create another MIDI track with Control-Shift-T, and let's hold Alt and drag these chords just so that we have them for later. And now let's go ahead and flatten this. So now we have audio. What I'm going to go ahead and do is cut all the different places where a new chord starts. And then I'm going to fade in the start. So I'm gonna do something like that. Sounds a lot smoother, and it almost doesn't sound like Rhodes anymore. So that's why I'm doing that. Fade out the tail as well so that there's no little click at the end. And let's add like some reverb to this. Alright, that's cool. Now we can start adding an 808 pattern. Now, for the 808, I feel like sometimes he'll use like a plug 808. Other times he'll use a nice kind of subby 808. So we want something that has some sub to it and that doesn't have too much grit. I feel like the Metro 808 could fit this style. We're gonna have a nice little bouncy kind of track here. But for the 808 settings, first of all, we loaded up our 808. Sounds like this. Let's go ahead and turn the voices to 1. That way the 808s don't overlap. And when I start playing different notes, it just switches to the nearest, to the next note. Let's turn up the release a little bit. A lot, actually. We want to have something that has a little bit of bounce to it. Now, the next thing I want to do is go to the controls. In Ableton, with the samplers, there's always that velocity to volume control. Let's turn that to 0 so that the velocity doesn't affect the volume. The next thing I want to do to add a little bit more punch to this is turn down the sustain. Let's do like -6. The sustain is the volume that the sample is going to stop at. So when it's at 0, that means it's going to stay at full volume the whole time. If I go to -6, it's going to go down to -6. And the decay determines how long that's going to take. And that's going to add more punch to the start. It kind of shapes the sample. And then I'm going to turn up the overall volume to make up for that lower sustain. Let's create a clip with Control-Shift-M. Now you're gonna want to have headphones to hear this this bass, because obviously bass doesn't come through well on phone speakers and computer speakers and all that. I feel like that's too many 808s. Take this up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's called a fifth when you go up 7 notes. And it'll sometimes fit. When you want a different note than your root note, try taking it up 7. I don't know how to explain it, but you guys, I hope that made sense enough to you guys. Dun, dun. I don't like that right there. Let's just call this 808. All right, cool. So let's open up this drum rack right here, and we're gonna get some drums next. We want a nice, sharp sounding, crisp kick. Let's try something like that. That one sounded good as well. Let's just drag a bunch of kicks, and then we're gonna switch them out to try the pattern. I like that one as well. All right, let's create a clip, Control-Shift-M, and let's try some stuff. Hold Command and pull and drag up to turn up the velocity. Get rid of that third 808. I don't know why I put that there. I don't even need that third 808, to be honest. I mean that fourth one. Alright, go back to the 808 pattern. Let's add one right here, I believe. Perfect, yeah, right there. And just copy this kick pattern over. So if I go ahead and start switching the kicks out, it's gonna play the other kicks. I don't really like that one for this style. Now this one, let's try turning the sustain down. And maybe EQing out the high end. Bring that decay up a little bit. This one's interesting. All right, we're definitely not gonna use number 92. I like 31 though, the best. That first one that we had. Next, let's get a snare. I'm gonna go with the Mafia kit. Get something nice and sharp. Actually, not sharp, nice and crisp. That one sounds good immediately. Let's just try this one. Turn down the volume a little bit more on it though. Alright, so that's good enough for the snare. Let's create I mean, I could layer more stuff with it. I don't think layering the snares would be appropriate for this style. I always feel a need to try more things, but when something's good enough, then just settle for it. It's gonna give you like some blockage if you keep trying to find the perfect idea. So the snare sounds good, so we don't really need to do much more. Now I'm loading up Serum in this new track, and the reason why is I'm going to create like a, how can I do this? Do I want to do an ARP sound, or do I want to do a pad? That's what I'm trying to think right now. So right now I just turned up the voices a lot. I'm gonna try a pad. And what I'm going to do is turn on this filter right here. Put a lot of reverb on this. We don't need any spin. The spin is like vibrato. It kind of bends the pitch up and down. So what I'm going to do is get these chords that we saved, if you guys remember. We're just gonna put them right here. And actually, let's bring in those chords like right in this second part right here. And what I'm going to do is, here, let's try something different. Let's try these chords and put them right here. I'm gonna do stuff like that. So as you can tell, I was messing around with the cutoff. I'm just gonna go to automation mode by clicking this button right here, and as you can tell, we have the filter cutoff selected. I'm trying to figure out when I want the envelope to come up. Alright, I think that's good right there. Let's try this. We want to be pretty subtle with it. We don't want to do too much aggressive stuff. Let's just duplicate that envelope. Same thing right here. Put it right here. All right, let's get out of automation mode, and then this last chord right here, I'm gonna flip it upwards. Just gonna call this supersaw, and with the reverb, let's go ahead and automate this decay time. So what I'm gonna do is go actually back to automation mode, click on the decay so that the line shows up on our track. And every time we have this chord switch, we're gonna turn down the decay, because the decay is gonna make the last chord bleed on to the next chord, and we don't want the sound to keep like echoing out from the last chord, or else it's gonna cause some dissonance, which just means it's gonna sound very nasty sounding. I think that's cool. Let's turn down the volume significantly. Uses a lot of subtle background sounds. This kick is super loud though. Let's start adding hi-hats. Create a new MIDI track, Control-Shift-T. Let me get a nice clicky, sharp hi-hat. Or maybe we can combine like multiple hi-hats and do like multiple tracks of different hi-hats. Let's do an audio track. No, we don't really need to do an audio track. Let's do a MIDI track. Can hit Control-Shift-T, or we can just right click and add a MIDI track. And let's create a clip. And I'm gonna use this hi-hat for this track, and I'm gonna just place one every once in a while. Let's transpose it up a little bit. Now let's go back to that other hi-hat track. And let's find an actual hi-hat that we're gonna use to create like a complicated pattern. Let's try this one and turn down the sustain. Turn down this decay, and it becomes super short and clicky. And I want to try something unique. Let's get an audio track, place this hi-hat down, solo this audio track. Let's add a reverb to it. Put it at like 50%. And let's put it on high quality. Have a nice long echo on there. %, is good. Now let's freeze this track, flatten it, and let's select both of these and hit Command J to consolidate it. And we'll use this as the hi-hat. And the reason why I'm doing this, and then we can get rid of the audio track. The reason why I'm doing this is that I may want to like start extending the hi-hat and start doing some weird stuff where the tail comes back in and whatnot, and start playing with the release. And that's gonna be interesting. So let's go back up here, create a MIDI clip. The most basic pattern that we can ever do. Let's do something like that. I feel like his beats have such a playful sound to them. Like, they sound very minimal and like playful, if that makes sense. Now I'm gonna add a phaser to this. Let's start like adding different types of rolls. Hi-hat rolls, I mean. Sounds super cool with the phaser. The phaser just does so much for the sound. Let's turn down the rate. How should we do this pattern? We get a nice little velocity change. Let's stop obsessing about this though, about these hi-hats. I'll come back to them later and add more rolls, like hi-hat rolls and what's the word? Skips and stuff like that. Let's just do closed hi-hat too. Now let's start adding other sounds than these chords. I'm gonna create a track. Get a, let's get massive. I'm just gonna get a square wave. File, new sound, square saw. Can do some stuff like that. Obviously it's super loud right now, so I'm gonna turn down that volume. Secondly, I'm gonna add a filter to this. And the filter doesn't have to be inside massive. So we can just get a auto filter right here. And I'm gonna do something with the pitch now. So let's get envelope 3 or let's just do envelope 1. Doesn't matter which one you take. I'm gonna put it on the pitch section right here. And I want the pitch to fall downwards. So what I'm gonna do is, first of all, let's automate, like modulate it down by like 12. I hear this sound all the time in his songs. Let's just record something. Let's go ahead and quantize this. Just move it onto the grid. This last one is so off. So let's call this square, because I don't know what else to call it. Add some reverb to it. Always use reverb. Let's turn down the volume a lot. And let's put that right here. Now what I'm gonna do is go back to automation mode, and I'm gonna pan this left and right. Let's do like 15 or so to the left, and then the next one's gonna be 15 to the right. Now to the right, and now you can just duplicate this over. like this. Anyways, so I'm gonna come back in a second, but when we come back, I'm gonna add like all kinds of granular and like ambient sounds. So I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back, and what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna add more melodic sounds. So something I haven't been doing is actually using presets. So what I'm gonna do is go to Omnisphere and find like a bell sound that would fit this track. I don't know. Let's just capture that. So the cool thing is I was just playing around, but if I hit the capture button, it's gonna bring back everything I played. So I'm gonna save all this, and I'm just gonna change some of these notes around. Alright, I guess that works. Turn down the volume and like EQ out this low end. Add some reverb to it. Am I even? Yeah, I'm changing the volume on the right track. And now that we have everything selected, what I like to do is hold command and let's just get the same velocity. And actually I kind of like it when the velocity is changing like what we have right here. Simple stuff. Let's do bell. Call it bells, I mean. Next up, I'm going to I was gonna do something with the granular synthesis, and let me think. I want to add more sounds though. Like either I'm gonna add some sound effects and whatnot, or I'm going to add like a lead or something. And actually, to force myself to move forward with this song, I'm gonna select all of this and I'm gonna hit Command Shift D. And then I'll select this much right here and hit Command I. Do that 2 times just to make some space. And with these chords, let's just leave it alone. The next thing I want to do is add some effects, like I said. So let's go ahead and look for some field sounds. That's what I call it. Ow, that hurts my ears. Such a sharp sound. That's cool. Let's see what happens if we layer it with the snare. Like, where's the snare? Right here. Yeah. Let's lower the sound a lot on this, and let's just call this snare layer. Add a lot of reverb on it. Turn up the tail. Just keep the default settings. Who cares? All right, one of these is super low, so I'm gonna turn up the velocity on that bell. And this one is super loud. Add another audio track with Control T. I kind of want to have a reverse sound now. So let's look for a nice shaker sound or something. What was that? I heard a good sound. Okay, that's perfect. Let's just add that like right here, and we're gonna hit reverse. It's kind of high pitched. It's so annoying. On second thought, I don't really like this sound. Let me look for like a shaker, assorted drums shaker. Put that right here, reverse, and then I'll cut out the tip of that thing. See where we can put this. Maybe right before the snare. I want to pitch it down a little bit more. Perfect. Some of these are still super loud. All right, that's enough with the little miniature kind of little things. Let's go ahead and get into some more complicated stuff. So we have this MIDI track, right? Now we're gonna create like ambient background and have like fill up some of the space. So what I like to use is, I don't really do this too often, but I go to the Xfer Live instruments and I go to Granulator. Go ahead and hide my face. And then what I do is I go to, you can really use any sound for this, but field sounds, like realistic sounds from the real world, will actually do the best job of making these kinds of ambient sounds. So let's look for something. Something like that would sound good, and we just want to drag it to our granulator. Let's change the file position, and now we can play different notes. And it sounds like this sound is panned to the right. So what I'm gonna do is, to make it centered, I'm gonna bring it to a new audio track. And we're gonna add a utility to it, and we're gonna click on mono. We're gonna freeze this, flatten it, and we're gonna take that and put it in our granulator. Okay, now it should be centered. Let's turn up the random. Turn up the spray. Now let's add some reverb to this. Let's just draw one long note. I'm gonna add an AUTOPAN, turn down the phase, turn up the amount. And it becomes kind of like a rhythmic sound. Let's add like a compressor. What happens if I add like a multi-band dynamics preset? I like to use this sometimes. And I definitely want to EQ some of this. Just being creative right now. I've never really done anything like this. Like how I'm particularly setting up the sound right now. I've never really made this sound before. Alright, that's cool. Let's freeze this track. And let's flatten it. See what happens if we add chorus. I don't know. Let's call this green ambience. Let's add that on the second part of the song. For the first part, let's just get like the sound of like a forest or something. Like this world sounds thing right here. So many birds, holy shit. Holy shit. birds chirping. Let's take this, let's hit warp, go to complex mode or complex pro so that it doesn't, the reason why I'm warping it is that I want to change the pitch, but I don't want to change the length of the clip. All right. Cool. So the last thing I want to do is add, there needs to be more, not only rhythm, but a more upfront sound, if that makes any sense. Usually there might be a rapper on this type of a ICYTWAT beat, but we need to go ahead and add some sounds that are gonna take the forefront, add more rhythm, more melody, and just make this whole song sound complete, like wrapped up, packaged, and done. And then I just gotta mix it. So real quick, I'm gonna think about what kind of crazy design I want to do. It might not be crazy, it might be something simple, but I gotta think about it, and I'll be back. Alright, so you guys are gonna have to forgive me for this, but I made a little bit of progress on the song off camera. I just started experimenting with stuff, and then I just got carried away. So the thing that I added was this arp. Okay, actually, first things first, I took out the kick in this first section and I bring it back in this second part right here. But so I added this arp sound. And really it's just a preset from an Arturia plugin. And what I did is I took the chords from up here and I added an arpeggiator from Ableton, right? And I set it to like 8th notes and I turned it up like one step, and I think I did up down. And what happens is that when you put on the arpeggiator, it'll take those chords and it'll draw little ones like this. So what I did was I went from all ins and I went to MIDI like that, and then I hit record, and now the MIDI is coming in from up here. So that's how I did that. And then I just called it ARP, and let's just make this track green. And I did the same thing except with 16th notes. So I went to 16 instead of 8. Except with this one, I just recorded it to audio, and that's so I could pitch it up. I could have pitched up the notes, but I was just curious, like, about what it was gonna sound like if I pitched up the audio rather than the notes. You guys already know I like to flatten audio and then like freeze it and stuff to turn it into an audio file, and then I'll like pitch it around and whatnot. So that was kind of my logic. Let's finish off this beat nice. First of all, let's group these two tracks. Let's just call it arps. They sound very well, very good layered together, these arps. But anyways, I'm completely unfocused. It's hard to explain like your process when you haven't recorded it, so it's my bad. Oh yeah, I remember. So something that I heard in one of his songs is that he'll get like a kick. Let's get a nice like, I don't know how to describe it. A nice, what's the sound? There's no way to really describe the sound. Alright, something like that would work. Let's put that in a MIDI track. And then every once in a while we'll add like a very high pitched kick roll. Let's take it up an octave. You guys see what I'm doing? Adds a nice little sound to it. So let's here, let me hide my face. Let me go ahead and turn down the sustain and turn down the decay. I really like that sound. Let's take it up one more octave. Perfect. That's cool. But yeah, I think that's gonna top it off right there. One more thing I wanted to try was first of all, let's call this high kick or something. I was gonna try something with some white noise, so let's get an operator. With operator, you can go to white noise or noise white, that's what they call it, and it makes this sound. So that sounds very ugly. We're definitely not just gonna use it how it is, but what I'm gonna do is turn down the volume a lot, and I'm gonna cut out some of the low end, I guess, with this filter. And I'm going to add a saturator to this. I want to try to make a very, like, I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, destroyed kind of sound like that. And let's add some reverb. So right when you hear that snare, that was such a weird imitation. It's like, it's kind of like a suction sound. It's kind of weird to try to make that sound. But right when we hear that snare, I mean, we're going to add this white noise. And this is just something I wanted to try. Let me have my face cam one more time. I'm gonna go to the envelope and we're gonna make it come down like this. Alright, that's good. Now we're gonna take this dry wet and we're gonna automate it. So we're gonna take the saturator, have it start off all the way down, and we're gonna bring it in like right here. And I want to completely destroy this. Like, I want it to sound super distorted and stuff. Maybe we should extend it a little bit. Turn up the sustain as well. Uh-oh, why am I? Okay, I don't want to edit the MIDI key map. I just want to change these envelopes right here. All right, anyways, let's freeze this. Let me get my reverb first of all. Cut it. Let's get out of this mode right here. I'm gonna hit the minus sign on my keyboard to zoom out. Let's freeze this track. Let's flatten it. Let's put the reverb back. And maybe do something like this. I like that. Last thing, let's go back to automation mode. Let's automate this dry wet and kind of have this this sound kind of become more and more drowned out. And let's turn down the volume overall by a lot. All right, so I just wanted to try that, and it sounds all right, to be honest. It's not that bad. What happens if we pitch it down? That's so cool. We might do that. Let's pitch this down. And then let's copy it, put it right here. Have one be pitched up and then the second one be pitched down. Alright, I really like these kicks as well. That's really cool. Last thing I'm gonna do actually is I'm going to add an off snare. That's just what I call it. I don't know the actual name for this. There's not really a name for it. It's just what I like to call it. But it's a snare that's not on the main snare locations. Not on the main snare snare beat. So it's just kind of off, and it adds like an off rhythm. So let me find a nice one. What would happen if we use this? Let's turn down the sustain on it. Let's turn down the decay. It's all right. Might as well use this, to be honest. And we're just gonna add some off snares. All right, cool. So now you can kind of zoom in, make some like little tiny snare rolls up here and stuff. Turn down the velocity. You guys kind of get the point. I don't have to do all of this on camera, right? Yeah, I don't have to do it all on camera. So I think that's gonna top it up for this beat. There's not much else to show. I can delete this extra sample thing that we had out there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create an intro just by taking different pieces of this song and creating an intro, and then I'm gonna create maybe an outro if I have to. And I'm gonna mix and master this song. But if you enjoyed this beat making tutorial, leave a like, subscribe of course if you want to see more of these videos, and let me know who else you want me to do a tutorial on, what other styles you want. And yeah, just ask questions, feedback, anything that you want to say in the comments, you can do that. So other than that, I appreciate everyone who watched this video, even if it was for like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or if it was for an hour, it doesn't matter. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.